Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Hope you all had a great long weekend if you got to celebrate the family day. I basically took the day to recover from all the shoveling we've been doing since we've been hit with quite a lot of snow. But in regards to today's video, I want to talk about waste and all the spending that the government's been doing. Now, this kind of comes off the heels of obviously Elon Musk and what he's doing with Doge, and there is a lot of stuff being uncovered. However, we have our fellow Canadians here doing the same. You all know that David from Moose and the Loose, he's been doing his Far Off Ripoff segment, which I highly recommend. Check out his channel and subscribe to him. He's almost at 100,000 subscribers, which is amazing. But he's been doing a really good job of tracking Canada's spending in the foreign aid department. However, today on Elev8 Podcast, Josh and Reg kind of broke down the public affairs government spending that's been happening. And that actually takes a look at the consolidation of government, crown corporation, agencies, and everything like that, and how they're spending it. So we're going to be taking a bit of a look at their video. I'm not going to be playing the whole thing, but I will link it down below, as well as hit them up with subscriptions. I think they just passed 70,000. They're really on their way to 100,000, which is amazing. But without further ado, let's just jump into this section where Reg is kind of breaking down some of the numbers that they just consolidated themselves.
He was looking at this. He goes, this follows no standard accounting rules. The government has their own way of writing all of this. He's like, it's painful to look at, because he did a first take of this, because I was like, how hard is this actually to look at? And he was like, it's immensely difficult. So to save you all the trouble of this is what we found out. So when looking at the total expenses, one of the things you'll hear from a lot of creators right now, because they're pulling this number out, this one's actually easy to find. $534 billion is what we're spending. Almost $535 billion, in the past 2023 to 2024. That wasn't even counting all the new stuff we added.
True.
So looking at this, we look at the finance department, or the Ministry of Finance. $135 billion going to that ministry. Employment and Workforce Development, $124 billion. The national revenue, almost $60 billion. It's obscene numbers. And I'm going, why are those numbers so high? Like, what is it that you're possibly doing in the Department of Finance?
Almost a quarter of the actual number.
Exactly. That is costing so much money. And then when you go down and look at like health, I'm like, health, $14 billion. We know that the health transfer is almost 50. Why the heck is it only 14 billion? And so this is the problem that we're seeing. This is the game that's being played with these documents, because it's easier to kind of obscure things and hide things and make money disappear when you kind of lay it out in this format. And so what's happening is that in the Department of Finance, so that transfer to the provinces, so that, $50 billion, that's counted for in finance. So other things that are delivered through like workforce development and stuff like that, that comes through finance. And so you have what's happening is that you have all these transfers that might be for housing or for health or for any other social program that should be under those ministries, coming out of finance or coming out of workforce development, or just coming out of odd ministries where they're adjacent but should be held within that ministry. If we're doing things for housing, it should be coming out of the housing minister.
Now, I wish I could say I'm surprised by this, but we've seen over the past year or so with all the committee hearings, GC strategies, the consultants, the procurements that have been doled out, all of these contracts that are going to different people, there is a huge wasting issue that's happening in our government. And this also ties into the Doge situation that's happening in the US, as they've been doing these subcommittees on the Doge aspect. And listen to this Republican talking to the Democrats, trying to plead with them to like work with us. We are trying to save the American people in their pockets. And if we don't, we are going to be in the worst position ever. Take a listen.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to speak frankly at first to the American people. We're nearing $37 trillion in national debt. What does that mean? That means that each and every U.S. taxpayer owes over $323,000. Okay? What does that mean? That means when the EPIC, which is the Economic Policy Innovation Center, says we have 18 trillion left. That's it. 18 trillion left to take out. And we're spending $2 trillion in debt every year. Folks, we're at the precipice of a debt, we're like a debt cycle. We are literally at a point in which the dollar will be worth nothing. What does that mean? And we know Social Security goes bankrupt in 8 years, right? Medicare goes bankrupt in 10 years. And then 15 years from now, the dollar is completely devalued and worth nothing. So what does that mean? That means your pension, the money in your bank, your savings is nothing. It's worthless. So what are we doing? We're trying to save this country. We're trying to save your pensions. We're trying to save your bank accounts. We're trying to save this country for the next generation. And it would be nice if we had help. But instead, we have people that are fighting us on this. And I think that I would hate to be in the Democratic Party right now because you're in a really bad bind. You're having to defend all of this crazy spending, all of this crazy waste. So how do you do it? You do ad hominem attacks. You attack the messenger. Oh, Elon Musk, right? He's rich. He must be evil, right? That's the attacks. Really, you can't do any better than that, right? Let's talk on the policy. Help us. We're trying to save this country.
Now, there's a few of you out there that hate that I even talk about American politics or anything American. Yet there is a close tie and correlation between us. Outside of geographics, but he mentioned that $37 trillion of debt was accumulated in the U.S. and that each individual citizen is responsible for a certain amount. Well, if we go to the Canadian Taxpayer Federation's page, they also have a debt counter, and Canada is currently at $1.250 trillion in debt from the federal government, and your share is about $30,000. Now, I don't know about you. I don't really have $30,000 kind of kicking around to just donate to get us out of debt. But he goes on to talk about the amount of years they have left before things really get bad. We already know that our government is basically using 83% of the money they get every year just to pay off the debt, which we've covered in previous videos. He's also talking about how they're just going to become in a debt cycle. They only have a certain amount of time before their dollar has no value. Just earlier this month, our dollar was probably one of the lowest it's ever been. I think it was at 68 cents compared to the American dollar. Now we are back up to 70, but it's in this fluctuating zone where it's not looking good for us. And we are seeing a lot of pushback from the Democrats in the U.S. asking, why is he even doing this? Why is he looking into all this? Why is he cutting all this spending? Which I don't understand why they're having a problem with him trying to save the Americans money. And when you watch Josh and Reg's video where they're breaking down how much is being spent on consultants and this and that, and you're just seeing all of this wasteful spending, yeah, we can do better in terms of where the money's being located. And we have Jagmeet and we have the liberals constantly talking about Pierre going to be cutting dental and healthcare and this, your pension, yada, yada, yada. If you just took a look at all the wasteful spending and streamlined it properly, you could easily save enough money in all of these different wasteful spendings at the programs to save these social programs that you want to keep around. Like a few months ago when Pierre announced his GST tax on houses $1 million or more, the $50,000, he broke it down there on how much money is being spent on these accelerator programs. I think at the end he said like $16 billion would be saved in the next 4 years.
Mr. Poilievre, Michael Couture from CTV News. I wanted to know if you can confirm, first of all, that your plan that you're proposing today will save $8 billion annually. Also, can you list the programs that you'll be cutting to get to this number? And please, en anglais et en français.
So it will save $8 billion over. We're going to cut two programs for sure and more beyond that. One, the Accelerator Fund, has $3 billion left in it. It has been a disastrous program that has led to less home building and more local bureaucracies. $3 billion will be saved from that. And then the housing infrastructure fund that hasn't built any infrastructure or any housing and hasn't even instituted any announcements. They're not even accepting applications yet. 6 months after it was announced, what they're doing with the money is building up a big fat bureaucracy in Ottawa. That will be gone. So that's a total of $8 billion over several years. Then we expect that we will collect about $2 billion more as a result of the 30,000 additional homes that will be built year after year because of this highly stimulative tax cut. It's going to spark more home building, which means more workers and businesses will be making money building homes. And therefore, at the existing rates, they'll be paying more into the system. So this includes about $16 billion in additional revenue and lower cost to the taxpayer, which is about the cost of axing the sales tax on home building over the next 4 years. Thank you.
Now, as Pierre just stated, that is 2 programs. If you cut, you're able to save that much money. Elon with Doge just posted this on how much Social Security is going out. And look at it. He says some of these people would have been alive before America even existed as a country. And he's talking about down here. Look at this. 2 people in the 200 and 300 years of age. But even just past, if I'm being generous, past 110. Most people don't really go past 100, but say 110. That's a lot of individuals who are getting Social Security money just getting thrown out the window. Going to who? Who's this going to? Yet Democrats like John Fetterman are saying, oh, that he's rummaging through your personal information. The party of chaos. Elon points out, if that's something he wanted to do, he had owned PayPal before. He could have done that if that was his main goal, was to get your private information. He's simply pointing out all the wasteful spending that's happening. There is a lot of money that's being wasted in our country, let alone all the money that we are sending out of our country, which I'll take a guess that some of those places don't even really know that we're sending them money. Because if we can't keep track of where the money's going here, who's to say we're even keeping track of where the money's actually going when we send it out? And this is actually why I think Doge is so important, is to keep the people accountable for mismanaging things. And when we go back to that video of the gentleman talking about the $37 trillion at the subcommittee hearing, he points out to the Democrats who are so against what Elon Musk is doing that this is something that the Democrats fought for or ran on back with Clinton, back with Obama. I'm sure there's a few more that will come out of the woodworks, but nobody wants to talk about it. So take a look at this video.
Madam Chair, I have a video I would like to end with that just, let's review, if we could cue that, to remind, and I want to remind my Democratic friends, at a point in which you once had the majority of the American people on your side, this is what your party believed in.
This report tells us how to cut waste, cut red tape, streamline the bureaucracy, change procurement rules, change the personnel rules, and create a government that works better and costs less.
I've read it, and where it says the president should, the president will.
Among the 800 recommendations, eliminating 12% of the federal workforce, merging some government agencies like the FBI, the DEA, and the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, closing hundreds of government offices outside Washington.
From the day I took office, one of the commitments that I made to the American people was that we would do a better job here in Washington in rooting out wasteful spending. We thought that it was entirely appropriate for our governments and our agencies to try to root out waste, large and small, in a systematic way. It means cutting some programs that I think are worthy, but we may not be able to afford right now. A lot of the action is in Congress and legislative, but in the meantime, we don't need to wait for Congress in order to do something about wasteful spending that's out there. We haven't seen as much action out of Congress as we'd like, and that's why we launched on our own initiative the campaign to cut waste. And we're going to keep on finding every possible way that we can do that, even if Congress is not acting.
And so one has to wonder, after seeing that video, why the Democrats are so against what Elon is doing. What is it that they actually have to hide? And we can look back at our liberals for the same thing. they are so against the giving any information in regards to GC strategies, procurement, indigenous affairs, the other Randy situation, all the documents that they sent in but were redacted. What is it that they actually have to hide? And I think a good audit will be a great way to start showing where the corruption is lying. But we can also see from their behavior, a lot of them are not running again. They're jumping ship. And this might be because they know they're not going to win their riding, but these behaviors are very, very strange. And I guess only time will tell. We need the new government to step in. We need to find where we can cut this wasteful spending. Like Reg and Josh said, your social programs might not even have to be cut, even though that's what Jagmeet and the liberals constantly keep saying. They're going to cut your dental. They're going to cut your pension. They're going to cut healthcare. Never once have the conservatives said any of that. But as I said, time will tell. Let me know what you guys think about all this. And as always, I will catch you guys on the next one. Thanks so much.